10 years ago, a man witnesses his best friend get shot at a gas station. He then discovers that the incident had occurred in a peculiar pattern and date. Having studied the pattern, he predicts the incident will occur again in 10 years. Determined to prevent further tragedies, he starts warning potential victims. However, a young boy misinterprets the warning. As the man believed that fate itself wants the boy dead, he still tries to prevent it. Hey guys, welcome back to IM Movies. Today we'll be looking at the 2018 Spanish suspense thriller movie titled The Warning. But before we jump into the details, make sure to show us some love by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. Now, let's get right into it. The movie starts with an event from 10 years ago. John, a mathematician with schizophrenia, sits in his car taking his medication while waiting for his best friend David. The pills help John manage his symptoms and differentiate reality from hallucinations. David soon joins him in the car, and they drive off together. On their way, David excitedly shows John an engagement ring, sharing that he's planning to propose to his girlfriend at the Eiffel Tower in Paris during their upcoming trip. On their way, they stop at a 24-hour gas station to pick up some drinks. David goes inside while John waits in the car. Moments after David enters the store, a car pulls up with a man quickly steps out of the car rushing inside. That man starts shooting sporadically and quickly hops back the car and it speeds off. John rushes inside and finds David on the floor covered in blood, and next to him is a man holding a gun. But he quickly runs. Utterly devastated by the sudden turn of events, John cries next to David while yelling to the attendant to call for ambulance. Following the incident, David falls into a coma and is hospitalized. In the present day, a young boy named Nico is being bullied by his schoolmates to steal adult magazines from a convenience store at a gas station. The same store where John's friend David is shot 10 years ago. The bullies are older and stronger, leaving Nico no choice but to comply with their demands. When Nico arrives at the store entrance, he hesitates to go inside, catching the attention of the store attendant. Just then, his mom, Lucia, who has been searching for him, suddenly arrives at the gas station. He runs to her, and they leave together. The next day after school, Lucia waits for Nico and sees the bullies harassing him because he didn't bring them the adult magazine they had demanded the day before. She rushes to defend her son, causing the bullies to run away. Lucia attempts to chase them, but Nico holds her back, urging her to let it go. On their way home, Lucia sternly tells Nico that he needs to stand up for himself. Otherwise, the bullying will continue. She urges him to either defend himself or report the bullies to the school authorities, threatening to do it herself if he doesn't. Nico doesn't want to cause more trouble, so he finds it hard to follow his mother's advice. On their way home, they stop by the 24-hour gas station, and Lucia tells Nico to get a milkshake while she fills up the gas tank. Nico sees this as an opportunity to steal the adult magazine but is caught by the shop attendant. Despite Nico's behavior, the attendant remains friendly. He asks Nico his age, and Nico reveals that he'll be 10 next week. Nico picks up a children's magazine as well, which his mom pays for before they leave. Later that evening, Nico finds a note inside the magazine he bought earlier, warning him not to go to the 24-hour gas station on his birthday, or he'll die. The note utterly terrifies Nico, causing him to wet his pants, which shocks his mom. His mom asks what's wrong and sees the note. She assumes it's an empty threat from the bullies in school, and she reassures him there's nothing to fear. Unbeknownst to her, the note isn't from the bullies, but rather a message from the past. Going back to the past, we see John discussing with Andrea, girlfriend of David. She mentions the situation of David in the hospital days after the incident. She tells John that David is only relying with life support. Their conversation is cut short when someone calls Andrea, and John stumbled upon a newspaper article reporting that a man had been killed at the same location 10 years ago, where David was shot recently. This report intrigues him, and he decides to conduct further research to find answers. John tracks down some of the eyewitnesses and surviving victims of the previous incidents to gather first-hand information. During his investigation, he learns that a series of murders took place at the 24-hour gas station years ago. What makes it even more captivating is that the murders occur every 10 years on April 12th. He then discovers the root of all of this when he interviews an old lady. She is the daughter of a poor and desperate man who at that time just finished his years in the African War. When he needed money from the bank for her daughter's illness, the bank wouldn't give him a loan, and in desperation he tried robbing the bank, but he went rogue and eventually kills 4 civilians. Upon realizing he killed 4 civilians, including a 10-year-old girl, he committed suicide on the spot. With this, John discovers that the ages of those people who died on that bank is 10, 21, 32, 42, and 53, which in this case in every 10 years of April 12th, one person with the same age dies on the same location. Upon meeting Andrea and David's brother Pablo, he mentions all of this to them. However, they don't believe John's theories about the murder, probably because of his schizophrenia. Their doubt grows when they find out he's been off his medication. Also, Pablo points out that David was shot on April 2nd, not April 12th, casting a flaw in John's theory. Back to the present. Lucia takes the threatening note to the school authorities the following day, frustrated by the bullying and harassment her son is facing. The principal assures her that she'll talk to the bullies, but Lucia isn't satisfied with just a warning and demands their expulsion. The principal advises Lucia to encourage her son to speak up whenever he's bullied. Otherwise, the school can't effectively address the issue. After school that day, Nico shares his fears with his friend Sarah. He worries that his mom's report to the school might escalate the bullying. While they're talking, they notice the principal taking the boys into her office for questioning, and Nico and Sarah watch through the glass. The next day, Nico finds a note asking him to meet in the gym locker room, thinking it's from Sarah. But when he gets there, he's attacked by the bullies. They accuse him of fabricating the note to get them in trouble, which Nico denies. They force him to strip and take his picture, threatening to post it online if he reports them again. Nico walks home in the rain, looking crushed. On his way, he stops by the 24-hour gas station and sees the attendant standing outside. They stare at each other for a while, and without saying a word, Nico turns and walks away. The following day, after her work shift, Lucia goes to the school to meet with the principal. The principal explains that they conducted a handwriting test, and none of the bullies' handwriting matched the one on the note. The principal reminds Lucia that her ex-husband has a restraining order against him, and suggests he might be responsible for the note. Lucia dismisses this possibility, growing more frantic. Lucia drives to the 24-hour gas station to buy something. She mentions to the attendant that they found a threatening note in a magazine they purchased from his store. The attendant, however, doesn't seem surprised. Instead, he suggests it might not be a threat but a warning. He explains that someone was killed at that gas station on April 12th, 10 years ago, advising her to heed the warning and keep her son away from the store on that day, which is the same day as Nico's 10th birthday. One day at school, Sarah tells Nico that he isn't the only one who received a warning. She says that one of their classmates, Martin, who shares the same birthday as Nico, had a similar experience. Martin's mother had mentioned to Sarah's mother that on the day her son was born, a man warned them not to let Martin visit the 24-hour gas station on his 10th birthday, or he would die. This revelation shakes Nico, prompting him to rush out of the classroom. In their house, Nico is worried about his upcoming birthday, but his mom tries to comfort him by assuring him that nothing bad will happen. He insists that he won't go to the 24-hour gas station on his birthday, but his mom argues that he can't live in fear and insists she'll take him there to buy a present, which will help him overcome his fears. Their argument escalates, with Nico objecting to visiting the store despite the warning, and his mom insisting they should go. Nico points out that his classmate Martin's parents are taking the warning seriously by keeping him indoors on that day, questioning why his mom is putting his life at risk. Back to the past, Andrea and Pablo face the doctor who has a bad news for them. He mentions that David will no longer recover, and the best thing for them is to turn off his life support. They try to call John, but he's not picking up, so Andrea goes to his place. Upon arriving there, she mentions to John that tomorrow they will remove David's life support, and they want him to be there. John, on the other hand, mentioned that tomorrow is April 12th, making him more convinced that everything is going to happen, because he discovered a pattern of deaths suggesting that when a victim dies, a new life is born, implying all victims are reincarnations of the same person who needs to fulfill and finish the curse. He became convinced that another incident would happen 10 years later. The next day, everyone is gathered on the hospital for the removal of David's life support. By coincidence, in the same hospital, Nico's classmate Martin is born, and to prevent the recurring pattern, John rushed to the maternity ward just as David's life support was disconnected, intending to warn the parents of the latest newborn to keep him away from the 24-hour store on his 10th birthday. John was apprehended by the nurses and security but managed to escape the hospital, and he headed straight to the 24-hour gas station. While there, John receives a call from Andrea, informing him that David is still alive and has become responsive even after the life support was disconnected. John concluded that he, not David, was supposed to die, adding that today is April 12th, which is also John's 32nd birthday. With this, John tore a piece of paper, wrote a warning note, and sealed it in an envelope. He gave it to the store attendant and asked him to give to a boy who will be there 10 years from today. It is then revealed that the note that Nico received is from John after all. While at it, the store attendant secretly dialed the police number, and John claiming that the guy in the store was planning to rob it. Surprisingly, the store attendant pulls out his gun, but John takes it from him and told everyone to go outside. At that moment, there were only 4 people in the store, including John and the attendant. Believing there needed to be 5 people for the pattern to occur, John asked the attendant if there was anyone else in the store. The attendant confirmed that there was no one else. While outside, the 5th person arrived, and it's the police ordering John to drop his gun. He hesitates, repeatedly looking at the mirror and screaming at an unknown person to run. When he fails to comply, the police officer shoots him, leading to his death, precisely at the same time Nico was born. Back to the present, while picking Nico up from school, Lucia spots Martin and his father and tries to discuss the warning with Martin's father. However, he feigns ignorance, claiming that Martin will be absent from school that day because he will be seeing a doctor. However, Nico tries to argue, but his mom silences him. Nico's birthday finally arrives, and they celebrate it with a cupcake. His mom gives him a present before he leaves with plans to celebrate it better after school. Later that day, Lucia goes to pick Nico up from school, but he is nowhere to be found. She and the principal search frantically, but Nico has disappeared, leaving Lucia in a state of panic. Meanwhile, Sarah had hidden Nico in her mom's car because he was too scared to go to the 24-hour store with his mom. However, Sarah's mom discovers him and takes him back to his mom. Lucia takes Nico away, and in frustration they drive to the 24-hour gas station. Though Nico begs her not to take him there, she ignores him. Once they arrive at the gas station, Nico refuses to leave the car, but his mom forces him out, lecturing him about confronting his fears and how they will help him live a more fulfilling life. She gives him money to buy a shake and his favorite magazine, which he reluctantly accepts. Nico cautiously walks into the store and notices the attendant is a young man, and not the old man he's familiar with. The man told Nico that the old man is sick and he had to replace him. Once there, he notices a husky guy in the store acting shady. Moments later, a man on a bike pulls up outside, and the husky guy draws a gun, pointing it at the attendant and demanding cash. The attendant pulls out his gun, but the husky guy shoots him, and they both exchange fire. After observing the unfolding chaos and staring at the mirror as if receiving a signal from John in the past, Nico runs outside just as his mom rushes toward him. They meet halfway, and she holds him tight while the husky guy hops on the bike and zooms off. As she checks to ensure he's unharmed, Nico tells his mom he wasn't scared while he was in the store. In the past, even though John is dead, and it's still unknown whether his theory about the incidents is accurate or just a coincidence, the note he left helped Nico to overcome his fears, giving him the courage to stand up for himself from now on. And this is where our story ends. If you'd like to see us recap any other movies or topics you have in mind, just drop a comment and let us know. And don't forget to hit the like button, share this recap, and subscribe to stay updated for the next one. Until next time.